Hey guys, this is the Falcon again, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the quickest and easiest way to make an enchanting kit. There's a couple of things that you're going to want to look out for that I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Everything's pretty easy up until you get to Cataclysm. Then it can get a little difficult, but there are tips and tricks to get there. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you to keep an eye out for hypnotic dust and any gems that you can make into rings, and we'll get to that later. First, we're going to go over the beginning, which is strange dust. Now, for strange dust, you want to make double-stitched woolen shoulder pads. To get the wool for this, you can farm Shadowfang Keep and Silverfine's Forest. It drops a lot of cloth, and it's easy to farm, for anyone really. After that, and you make your double-stitched woolen shoulder pads, you can disenchant them, and you should be able to get the strange dust you need, along with certain essences that you'll need at the start of your kit. The main part of these kits actually involve a lot of dust, and not so much essences, but you can get around that and use more essences if you make your own guide. I've made my own guide, and I'll post it down below, but I'd probably suggest working off WoW Professions, or if you do like mine, just double check it and make sure I didn't miss anything. Now, after Strange Dust, we're going to move on to Soul Dust. For Soul Dust, it's really helpful if you can get a certain pattern, and it's called the Azure Silk Cloak. Now, the thing about this cloak is it's very hard for Alliance to get it. There used to be a vendor that sold it, but now it's only Horde. So if you have a Horde toon, or if you have a Horde buddy, and they can go camp out, it would be a great benefit for you because it is the best way to get your soul dust. If you can't, you can just do Azure Silk Pants. But for the recipe, it's in Arathi Highlands and Hammerfall. There is a vendor there, and you can just look it up, and I'll set the link to the side. But as you can see, and I'm going to use my add-on called Panda. This makes it really easy for disenchanting, just because it's just one click disenchant. And as you can see, I'm just clicking on the Azure Silks, and you can start to see some soul dust pop up along with a couple of essences. But mostly, you're going to get dust. And this is the cheapest one too. It only takes about 3 bolts of silk to actually make a Azure Silk Cloak. And by doing this, you should also get the essences you need. Now, next on the list is Vision Dust. For Vision Dust, it's a little harder. Now, for me, I was lucky enough to get the White Bandit Mask. The White Bandit Mask yields the most Vision Dust that you can. If you can't get that, you can consult Wowhead on the links beside me and see which ones you would prefer to make to get your Vision Dust. But White Bandit Mask is a random drop. It's a world drop. And if you're on a low population server, you probably won't see it that often. But if you're on a high population like mine, they can still go for rather low prices, and I would suggest picking one up. And as you can see, I'll go back to Panda and start disenchanting some of the White Bandit masks. Now you will get some randoms, such as shards, and you won't really need those as much, but they still can sell in the auction house. But your nether essence, you will need. If you come up with a lot more though, if it's anything like my server, you can sell them. Now at this point, it does help to actually have a herbalist, or a herb gatherer, because you're going to need 20 purple lotus. But if you don't have 20 purple lotus, that's fine. You can make other things, such as I said in the video before this, that you can consult Wowhead and see what can level up besides the 20 purple lotus to make the vials. You can also use the enchanting guide that I put down below. Now, for the next part, we're going to need 230 dream dust. I'd suggest making rune cloth belts for this. It only costs 3 bolts of rune cloth, and rune cloth's rather easy to get. To farm rune cloth, there are many different ways, but I actually like going to the Outlands in the first dungeon, Hellfire Ramparts. Alright, here we are in Hellfire Ramparts to farm some runecloth, netherweave, some greens for arcane dust. It's kinda all in one place. Now, what you're gonna do is wait for these mobs to come close over here and just throw up an AoE skill. You can use Mass Dispel, or if you're a warrior or a melee, hunters can use traps. Pretty much anything that you can range and do an AoE skill. If you're a warrior, I'd suggest getting some kind of bomb that you can throw. Trinkets usually come in handy at that time. Now, what these guys are going to do is actually run around and just aggro everything in the dungeon. And at this time, I'll just go over exactly how I start to farm my netherweave. There's actually two spots that I can go to. One's right next to here, and the other one's in the Isles. And if you haven't actually gotten your rep for the Shattered Sun, Magister's Terrace is actually pretty good, and you can watch my video on how I actually farm that on my warrior. And other than that, you can watch my mage farm the Blood Furnace, and that's how I get my netherweave cloth. Now, as you can see, Watchkeeper whatever his name is, has already said something, and they should be coming any moment now. So what I'm going to do is actually LOS right here, just so they don't knock me back through the portal. And here they come. As you can see, they're all coming. It's a lot of mobs. And this is again when AoE looting comes in really, really handy. Couple more mobs. Gonna get them down. Here comes a few more wolves. And after this, we can loot and then go reset the dungeon. Now, you will need a lot more infinite dust than cosmic essence if you go by WoW Professions guide. Again, I do have a guide down below that you can use, and it's just as good. It just uses more cosmic essence. Though, if cosmic essence does sell good on your server, I'd just go ahead and sell the extra cosmic essence. Now, to get the infinite dust and cosmic essence, it's very simple. The best way I have found is actually Abyss Shatters. Farming the dust isn't too fun, and it can be quite a hassle. But if you use the Abyssal Shatter skill, you can actually get quite a bit. You get about 8 dust per disenchant, and you also get a couple of cosmic essence. At the end of it, you should have enough. Now, to get these abyssal shards, there's a couple of different ways, especially with now. Most of the Wrath raids are easily soloable by one person, and you don't need a raid group since 5.1. And if that doesn't help you out enough, you can actually come by a couple of the epics with justice or honor points. Though you may not want to do this with the recent changes to being able to upgrade your gear. But if you do have extra conquest, or extra honor and extra justice, you can come to the vendors in Dalria. Down below in the sewers is actually the old arena vendors. And as you can see, there's actually a couple of different ones. You can buy all 3 of these offhands, and then disenchant them, and get more shards, and they're only 190 honor each. As far as the justice points vendors, up where they usually cost about 290 for the offhands. But either will work, whatever benefits you most. But I do suggest this is the best way to get your infinite and cosmic essence. And after this, we will move on to Cataclysm. Alright, for the next part, when you're dealing with Cataclysm, it can be kinda hard to actually farm the materials that you need. It really helps if you have a jewel crafter and a miner that you can rely on. The reason being is when you prospect the ore and you get the uncommon gems from there, you can actually make a whole bunch of rings and get a lot of the hypnotic dust you need from them for a lot cheaper than what you could get out of the auction house or even using ember silk cloth. Though, if you do want to rely on some ember silk cloth, I would suggest farming Tol Barad, putting on a potion of treasure finding, and doing, especially when your faction has the Tol Barad, you can farm in the node areas. And you can also farm in the quest line areas of Rustburg Village. And the potion of treasure finding will just help you yield more of the materials you need. But as far as the gems go, I have found this to be the best way to actually get your infinite dust. I mean, hypnotic dust. By doing this, you should get quite a few. Especially the jasper rings. They seem to do the best. And then, after your cataclysm materials, it's pretty much just all on Pandaria. And with Pandaria, it seems to be lately that there is just a vast supply of enchanting materials that you shouldn't have no problem finding. You could always make bracers with windwool cloth, use your farming dailies to farm materials, or do the same thing with rings. But that concludes our enchanting kit. I hope this helps you and you enjoyed this video.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!